Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about Delhi and we're going to talk about the standard Tower of Victory Delhi opener for either a feudal rush or a feudal play into castle push. It's going to be really interesting because we're going to take a look at a very standard way to play. It's the most meta way to play, so this is a good way to get into Delhi as well if you are just starting out with them. So I'll be providing the matchups as well and the transcription of the build orders that is used here in the description below that you can check out and use while you play if you are able to do so, or just for your practice. So let's get into it. I'm going to be showing you how you play the Delhi opener and then how you rotate into Castle Age later on, especially against some opponents that are really hard to beat in Feudal, such as Ottomans, Abbasid. Those are tough for the Ottomans to beat in Feudal, and it can be a good idea to go and play more for a Castle Age timing once you've got those sacred sites secured. I'm now going to run you through the opening build order, and then we're going to talk about the game afterwards, how you take the game in different directions as the Delhi civilization being a very linear civilization. So you open up, 5 on straggler tree wood here, don't go to the wood line, straggler tree wood, then you send one guy to the mill. I'm just going to mention here, putting the mill on the berries is going to be the first priority because you can always think about when to put the mosque after that. But if you have to put the mosque down first and get the upgrades from that one first, then you would sometimes maybe put it in the bad place. You always want to put it on berries and on woodline so that it connects those two. And yeah, you build the mill and then you build the mosque and then a house. 5 on wood. They drop off the wood on the mill. This is a good thing to do if you want a shorter distance to if you have a shorter distance to the mill, and you can then get some extra time cut off that way. Next villager, the first one, the 7th villager, will be building the house. These guys go over to the mill. You start building the mosque once you figure out a location for it, be it between the woodline and the berries. Don't overthink gold. It's not an important one to get. The mining upgrades are not that important in this game. You start off by queuing up wheelbarrow. You don't have to queue survival techniques because you're going to get horticulture immediately upon age up. Here you get efficient production and you get piety. These upgrades are really good to have, especially efficient production first, against Mongols, where you open maybe with a Dark Age barracks. It can be a really good thing to have efficient productions, so you can put scholars into barracks and then produce spearmen faster. You have 8 villagers now in food, and you send the next one over to gold. If you dropped off the wood correctly on the mill, you'll be able to build a mining camp. So if this is tough for you, practice it, because it makes the daily opener a lot smoother and you save a lot of time this way. Then you send 3 to gold, and after that, you'll be sending 2 villagers over to the straggler tree that you chopped before. The reason we send it to the straggler tree is because we're going to save a lot of time that way by not going all the way to the woodline and starting to chop there. We've already chopped the straggler tree, so the first 2 villagers that you get out of the TC here, they will go to the wood, and the third one will go to the wood line. And this way, you'll have enough for the third villager to go and build a lumber camp. We're going to speed it up a little bit here. In a second, we'll be able to age up. If you're following the build order and you're wondering exactly how you should do your splits, then think about using the ARE4 production calculator or reference the build order. It has a tab where you can see them, how they change with the different timings of the build order. So check out the transcription. You're going to take now 4 villagers from berries, put them on the Tower of Victory. You can of course play Dome of Faith, but this build order is centered around archer play, and archers are a really strong way that you can, is really strong because you can build a huge ball of them, and then for feudal play, they can be the main damage dealers. Now, build your lumber camp, and most importantly, gather gold only so you have enough for 1 more scholar. You only need 2 scholars, because if you go for more, then you delay yourself too much. You're going to play this very aggressive. So once the gold vein is down to 37.70, then you know you have enough gold to get a scholar. So once you see that, immediately pull off and send them over to a straggler tree instead. From the lumber camp, once it's built, you just queue forestry immediately. Of course, get a house so you don't get housed. These guys are gonna go over to berries afterwards. You have a scholar here, and you just immediately queue up Sanctity, All-Seeing Eye, And then you go into piety. Here you just queue up double broadaxe. Here you queue up wheelbarrow into horticulture, survival techniques, and professional scouts. Get the mining upgrade. You want blacksmith first. Always build one blacksmith first unless you're under a lot of pressure. Then build an archer range first, because usually that pressure will be spearmen. But get 1 to 2 blacksmiths. If your opponent is playing very greedy, maybe they're going for a second town center, maybe they're playing non-aggressively, then go for 2 blacksmiths first, because these will make you have a way more powerful army earlier in the feudal age. Here I'm up against some aggression. I see that there's some spears out here, so I take the safe route. I'm not really getting harassed because many of my resources are on the back, but let's say that he still decides to do so. I just start building an archer range immediately, and then I go into a barracks. I provided the different matchups, what you should open with in the build order. Archer range into barracks. Just queue up the upgrades here. We're going to play archer heavy, so queue steel arrow first, then get the arrow defense, and then go melee upgrades afterwards. The melee upgrades aren't that relevant. The archer upgrades are really important. Especially the range defense is good if you're up against somebody who's playing archers. And if you're playing archers yourself, play steel arrow. So now you're all the upgrades queued up. You have a pretty wood heavy macro because you're going to be building 1 to 2 blacksmiths. You're also going to be building a lot of production and houses. So go wood heavy first. Afterwards do a 50-50 split. And then go into either, if you're doing a lot of archers, a little bit more wood heavy. But keep it 50-50 when you're walling and all these things. If you're going to play Ghazi Raiders and Spearmen, play a little bit more food heavy. But you still need that wood to go and wall in all of these sacred sites. Because if you wall in the sacred sites, they're way easier to defend, and you can also use the walls to your advantage if you're caught out of position. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit now. There's not a lot more happening in the base besides getting upgrades, building houses. We have put a couple of scholars into the archer range and the barracks because that will increase the production efficiency. I just use that to get a lot of units out quickly so I can go and deal with the early units that he puts out. Because he already at minute 7 has 3 Sipahis, 3 spearmen, and 2 archers. So I need to be really careful here. I'm getting some walls up. And I guess I should also mention, this is now when we're talking more about how you play Delhi. So we're playing more with walls now, getting the walls up, trying to take some shots at the spearmen. Them are not the most important ones. We want to take out the archers and use the spearmen up against the Sipahi. Your goal is to get 3 sacred sites, and once you have 3 sacred sites and you're fully producing scholars, then at some point you're also going to be floating a bit of food, and then you can go Castle Age. You don't want to go Castle Age if you don't have army, or if you have army but not enough army to sustain an immediate attack. But that's for later. Now we're trying to take some good fights here, microing our spearmen back so they don't get focused down by his archers, and so that we always have some spearmen against his Sipahi. Here, he was really good at microing against the archers, so you can use the walls like this, and you use your archer superiority to take some more shots here. Use the walls and the gates, and these can be really beneficial when you're playing around the sacred sites. You're not really going to be pushing that much into his base unless he's not making units, and so out on the map like this is super good for saving units. I would lose these 6 archers if I did not have this wall. Get the next sacred site walled in. It's okay to split your units up if you know you're not going to lose them. First sacred site is now taken, and within a few seconds we'll be able to queue scholars. If we have 2 sacred sites taken, we are starting to get a lot of gold, and with 3 of them we can go castle really quickly. Wall up the most essential choke points so that you have safe sacred sites. If there aren't many choke points and these are very open, let's say it's Dry Arabia, wall around the sacred site instead. Try to take good fights around the sacred site, as I mentioned before. If you can't take a fight, just pull back and then regroup. Delhi is able to push out a ton of units, so this is also what we're going to be trying to do. Now we've got 2 archer ranges, we've got the gold coming in, with way too much food, so you can see I've macroed way heavier on wood, just to get that food used up first, and then I can go back to food afterwards. Playing Spearman Archer only, because Ottoman is really good at countering cavalry. So therefore, we're going to play Archer Heavy and use our Tower of Victory bonuses. He's now pushing my base a bit. I fall back. I put my villagers in a little bit more safer position. And then he's going to be attacking me now. This is the first attack on my base. And this ends up being a really good fight because I have way more archers than he does. And I can use my spearmen in the choke points. So if an opponent attacks you like this, pull back, don't get too much contact with the Sipahi on your archers. Use your archers on the enemy's archers so that you have a full usage of the choke points once they're taken out. He's now forced to go back. Remember, your archers are really effective because of the 20% attack speed, but your spearmen actually also gets 20% attack speed. So these spearmen are supercharged. Alright, we have 3 sacred sites now. We are macroing a little bit heavier onto food. We lost our scout before, so we are getting another scout. Just keep on trying to take good fights here. When you take a good fight like this is a really important pro tip. If you take a good fight, like the one we took before outside our base, this is your signal that you can go Castle Age. Or you can keep going Feudal, and then you can go and perhaps kill them in Feudal by just massing up a huge force, and then keep going aggressive after that engagement that you took that was good. Just watch out. It's easier to defend than it is to attack, so you might be able to build up units when you are attacking immediately. Here, I decide to go Castle because it's my style of play here. It's how I think I should finish this game, because they won't be able to deal with men-at-arms that well. Okay, so you can see we have a lot of production. We have 3 archer ranges and we have 2 racks. So we are able to push out a lot of archers if we want to. Here I'm in a bad fight, so I have to go back again. Use the gate, and then try not to take too much damage. 3 sacred sites yields a lot of gold per minute. So at some point you're also going to have too many scholars. Here I'm going to go castle now. That'll speed it up a little bit. He's trying to go for the sacred site, so he's not pushing immediately for my base, which is a good sign for me to just go Castle Age. I secure this sacred site up again. I go back again. Focus a bit more on food. I'll be dropping my Compounder the Defender landmark in just a second. Here it goes. The Compounder the Defender landmark is going to be what you go for 99% of the time. Unless you're playing Dome of Faith in a longer game where you know you can't finish it, where you're perhaps the last one to get to Castle Age, go for Compounder the Defender and then get keeps out. These units that you have on the Compounder the Defender, if you are in a situation where you can't finish your opponent off by just going units, then you can always take those villagers and put them on stone right after you build the Compounder the Defender, and then you can immediately start dropping keeps and make more villagers, or drop keeps at your opponent's base with a push. This is a good way to finish off the game. So the situation right now is I just won Castle Age. He knows this. He has a lot of units here. He has about 60 units. I have about 60 units as well. So I can defend this in choke points. But I have now also, when I was aging up, built another barracks. I've put scholars inside of the barracks, which means they produce faster. So now I'm just mass producing men-at-arms from these. Men-at-arms are really good to deal with Ottoman pushes like this. Your upgrades will take a long time as Delhi, so it's a really good idea to just get some quality units out immediately. I believe I also queued up an elephant actually, because I had a lot of gold. Elephants are really strong, and you can go for those too. But I always suggest going for a lot of smaller units first, and then start making elephants slowly. It is not your main combat unit. Win the game like this with army units, push to your opponent's base, and then do a keep drop if necessary. And that concludes the Delhi build order and guide. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. And if you're interested in coaching, you can always contact me through the Discord that is provided down in the description below. And yeah, I think that's pretty much a wrap now. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.